There once was a place enchanting your darkest desires. There once was a road that crossed all your tranquility. A fight for true love, a fall for timeless lust, secrets of the labyrinth, destroyed bonds at the glance in a mirror. Hearts closed, thorns in prison, a spirit hardened. Rise up, warrior, confess your truth. Join us inside Black Garden. Good afternoon, and welcome to the Creative Dominion podcast with their host, Dark Law, and welcome to episode 16 of the wonderful Black Garden series releasing in September of 2024. We have a very special guest for you all on this journey inside Black Garden, and we have Mrs. Paola Rosser out of California. The West Coast is in the house. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Very great to have you on the Creative Dominion and Inside Black Garden. But before we jump inside, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
I am the founder and CEO of the Fearless Female Movement. I'm an emotion and body code practitioner, and I'm a life and spiritual mentor for women, especially women who are at the beginning of their healing journey and are trying to find themselves and figure out what their purpose is in life.
Awesome. And so welcome, Paola, to the Black Garden. And so as I start off with every episode, again, we're winding down season 1 of the Black Garden. Again, this is episode 16. And before we jump inside Black Garden, I just want to let everyone know that is viewing and listening that everything that's said may not resonate with you. Again, this is from Paola's personal experiences and knowledge as well. And so I just encourage everyone listening, all the audience and all the exalted of the Creative Dominion to take just one thing that resonates with you here today and be able to apply it daily to your life to, again, become the best version of yourself and to always, as I always say, decree the dominion of your own mind. And so as we join inside the Black Garden, I hope the thorns inside don't prick you too much. So again, I always say bring your band-aids and your peroxide because every episode on the Creative Dominion, especially in the Black Garden, we do hit home on the darkest parts of ourselves to reveal the true light that shines. And so with that being said, welcome inside Black Garden, episode 16. And so first thing we'll start off with is what inspired you the most to get into spiritual practicing and coaching for women?
Gosh, that's a long answer. But I would say that my spiritual journey began in 2006. My father had passed away unexpectedly from liver cirrhosis. He had been an alcoholic all of his life. And me growing up, my father was just always healthy, always happy. I hate saying that he was an alcoholic because people tend to think that, he was like drinking out of a brown paper bag on the corner, but my father was a workaholic and he drank basically because, growing up, we're Mexican, so we didn't get taught how to regulate our nervous system. So alcohol was one of the things that my father learned, by, absorbing and observing other people on how to regulate their nervous system. He was here in America, didn't know the language, was trying to run a business. He had 7 kids. He was making $13,000 a year and he was surviving, to say the least. I was his seventh child, and I grew up with my mother who was physically and emotionally abusive. She would literally tell me to my face, you know, I never really wanted you. And as a child growing up, if you've ever grown up in an abusive, emotional, physically, even sexually environment where they're abusing you, the child doesn't look at their abuser and say, "Oh my God, why are you doing this to me? There's something wrong with you." In fact, the child looks at themselves and says, "What's wrong with me?" And so that was my subconscious belief system, that there was something inherently wrong with me because my mother was physically and emotionally abusive towards me. And I just tried everything in my power to try to make her love me and see me and understand me. So I became a straight A student. I was on honor roll. I was a cheerleader, and still none of those things made her change or love me anymore. My father was the only person that would tell me that I was this princess, that I was beautiful, that he cared about me. So when my father passed away, it was a very big emotional blow to me. And even though I was 26 at the time, it was like the only loving parent I had was no longer in existence. And when he passed, I had felt like the deepest grief. It was in 2006, and it was the worst year of my life because not only did my father pass away, but I had left a narcissistic and toxic man who was abusive towards me. And we lived together in an apartment. I was 26, he was 24. And it was as if I was going through like a mini divorce. You know, you get those DVDs, you get the bookshelf, I get the TV, you know, it was a mini divorce and I was broken inside. And at that time, I didn't know about like the different fight or flight mechanisms. And at the time, I was using flight as a way to run away from my problems. So I had left the apartment that I was living with my ex boyfriend. I packed up all my stuff, moved in with my sister, and then 3 months later, my father passed away. So what did I do? I packed up all my stuff and I left again. And now I'm in a new city, and even though I was running away from my emotions were still there. You know, as much as you try to run away from your problems and the grief and the pain follows you. So I was in this new city. I had no job, I had no friends, and I was waking up every single morning at 4, 3, 2 in the morning. I couldn't sleep. My mind was racing a million miles an hour. I was trying to figure out life. And I seriously contemplated unaliving myself many times because the pain was just too grand. My heart felt like it was being ripped out of my chest. And I had no real guidance. And I was trying to go to church. I did go to church 3 times a week. I was part of the women's ministry, I was part of the children's ministry. I think I said the Lord's Prayer 10 times to ask Jesus into my heart, and it still did not minimize the pain that I was going through. And so I was like just lost. And during all of this chaos that was going on in my life, I lost my job. So now I'm unemployed in a new city with no friends, no real family, and I was severely depressed. I was so depressed. And I mean, I was even more contemplating not being around. And I had a friend who gave me the book, The Secret. And it still baffles me today that some people have never heard of this book or have watched the movie. But when she gave me the book, The Secret, and I read it, the first thought that came to my mind was, well, this shit isn't going to work for me. I'm Mexican. Like, this may work for white people, but it may not work for me because I had grown up with the ideology that Mexicans were of a lower class and that we worked for white people and that we'll always be living paycheck to paycheck and that it'll always be this way and you'll always struggle and that life is a struggle. You know, it just was always my ideology. And but I just, for something nudged me to say, just test it, try it out, just see if it works. And so in the book, The Secret, it really talks about how your mind and your thoughts become your reality, how you speak about yourself, how you speak about your life, and that you can visualize whatever it is that you want in your mind and then put it in your hands. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to give it a test. You know, I'm going to try it out. I'm just going to see if I can get the front parking spot at Walmart or if I can get, you know, a $10 coffee. And the more that I put it into practice, the more that it was starting to work in my life. I got a new job, I got new friends, I got a new car, I got, you know, all the things that I was putting in like my vision. But unfortunately, my friends were still toxic, my boss was toxic, I was using alcohol to cope and regulate my nervous system, and I was still attracting these toxic men into my life. And so, fast forward, I've been doing this for years now because I got the book in 2008. So, I was 28. Now I'm 33, and I'm with another guy who is choking me outside of a restaurant because I caught him cheating on me. And in that moment, as I'm being choked out by on the side of a restaurant, I thought to myself, how am I here yet again with yet another man who is being disrespectful, who is cheating on me, who is like choking me out? And it was just like this aha moment of you're doing it wrong. Like you need to wake up, because at that point I had already gone to therapy. I read a couple books about narcissistic men and narcissistic tendencies. And so I'm thinking I should know this stuff by now. It should have already clicked. I shouldn't have been able to attract this man, but yet here I was being choked out on the side of a restaurant. And I'm like, I have a college degree. I live by the beach, which is a very expensive area to live by. I make almost six figures. How I drive a nice car. How am I on the side of a restaurant being choked out by this man who literally makes $13 an hour and is renting a room from his friend? Like, how am I here? And after that incident, I remember I took an entire year off. I became sober. I went to church 3 times a week. I was reading the Bible. I was like trying to figure it out. I remember there was many times that I was just like literally crying. And I lived in a small studio apartment. I was unemployed. I was drowning in debt, single, and I was going through another deep dark night of the soul. Like literally crying every day and asking God, why did you do this to me? Like, what is wrong with me that you allowed me to go through so much torment, so much pain? Because it wasn't just my mother's abuse, it was friends who abused me, it was bosses who abused me, it was boyfriends that abused me. It was like I was always attracting these negative scenarios and negative things into my life. I had been unemployed many times. It felt like I was just like struggling in life. And at that point, I was trying everything to make money. So I was like walking dogs, selling hot dogs at the Anaheim Stadium. I was cleaning houses. I mean, I was doing everything I could just to survive. And I was sitting there thinking in my small studio apartment, like, how did this happen to me? Like, I have a college degree. I did everything that they told me to do in school. I checked all the boxes. I should have a good corporate job. I should have stability. I should have money in the bank, but I didn't have any of that. Instead, I was drowning in debt. And I was like, God, why did you do this to me? And I was seriously like yelling and cussing at God. And I was like, how could you do this to me? And that night, I took a lot of NyQuil. I wouldn't say that I was trying to unalive myself, but I really was trying to sleep the day away because I was unemployed and I was like, if I wake up, then I have to spend money. I either have to put gas in the car, put food on the table, or do something. And I just didn't have the energy to go out there and do something so that I could make money, so that I could survive. And I just wanted to sleep the day away. But that night, I had the most incredible dream. And I love that you said earlier, like, be open minded and whether you believe this or not. And it took me years to actually really solidify that this was an event and that it wasn't a dream. That night, when I had the NyQuil hit, I lived in a studio apartment, so my bed was facing the front door of my apartment because it's if you've ever been to a studio apartment, it's basically like a hotel room. You open the door and there's everything. And my bed was facing the door, and that night my door opened and a billowing white light came through the door. And as I was trying to adjust my eyes, my father walked in. My father had passed years, in the past, walked in perfect health and perfect condition. And I jumped off my bed and I raced to him. And in Spanish, I said, Papi, quiero ir contigo, which means, Dad, I want to go home with you. And my dad said, it's not your time. It's not your time. And I was like, but I can't do this anymore. It's too painful to be here. I can't figure it out. I can't do this life. And my dad, like, hugged me tighter, whispered in my ear, and said, "It's gonna get better." And I remember waking up like I was like catching my breath as I woke up, as if I did sort of like lose my breath. And in that time, it was as if you've ever heard the saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. It was as if in that moment, I was ready to receive the knowledge that was needed to be given to me. Within the couple of months, I started to watch Oprah. At the time, she had just started Super Soul Sunday. And I remember one of her episodes, she said, one of the biggest things that changed my life was to start a gratitude journal. And I was like, I have nothing to be grateful for. I am unemployed. I'm broke. I'm, living in a small studio apartment. I drive a shitty Honda Civic that the bumper literally scrapes the ground as I drive. I have no money for food, no money for gas. I'm single. Like, I have nothing to be grateful for. And she just kept talking about how she like amplified her life by doing a gratitude journal. And so that night, I remember I had gotten a free journal from AAA. I had gone to like some open air market and they were giving away free journals from the automobile thing, whatever. And I grabbed that journal and I was sitting on my bed. And I remember I wanted to write things that I was grateful for, but I was so mad at my life and what it had become. At that age, I was 33 years old and still hadn't nothing together. And I threw the journal across the room and I was so mad again at God. Like, why? I literally have nothing to be grateful for. And as I cried there, it was like I got this download like, you have so much to be grateful for. So I picked up the journal and I just started with the basics. I am grateful that I have a roof over my head, that I have a bed to sleep on, that both my legs work, that both my hands work, that my arms work, that I can see, that I can talk, that I speak English, that I'm in America. I just started writing these little things down. And it was the most revolutionary thing that has ever happened to me. And it's still my number one thing I tell all my clients to do as a coach is start with a gratitude journal. And I've learned throughout the years, now I've been coaching for almost 7 years, that gratitude is the law of increase. When we can be so thankful for the smallest blessings like running water, which, almost 70%, 60% of the world doesn't have running water, doesn't have a flushing toilet, doesn't have a bed to sleep in or a roof over their head. If we could just be thankful for the little things, that they start to increase. And so I started with that. I started with a gratitude journal. And within months, I got a new job. I paid off my credit card debt. I got a new apartment with an actual kitchen. For 5 years, I had been cooking in that small studio apartment on a hot plate where only one side of the hot plate worked. So I was so excited to finally have an oven that had four ranges, and I had an oven that actually could cook a cake and stuff. I was so excited to have a brand new apartment. And then just when I thought things were amazing in life, they got even better. Where I literally say that I manifested my husband because I started to make lists of what I wanted in my future partner. And I started to really concentrate on that list. I wrote the list, I put it under my pillow, I made room on my bed for my fake husband. When I would drive my car, I would talk to the empty seat and say, "Oh my gosh, wasn't that just the most amazing barbecue? And wasn't my sister so funny? Did you like her tacos? I loved her tacos." I like pretended as if I had a husband. When I would wash the dishes, I would be like, "Oh, thank you for drying that dish." I literally acted as if I already had a husband. And in December of 2015, my husband asked me out on a date. My now husband asked me out on a date. And I was shocked because I hadn't gone out on a date in over a year and a half. And the first time I'd ever been asked out in person rather than on a DM or an email. And he completely changed my life. Like, he was a very successful man, and he was like, "You don't have to work anymore. I'll take care of you," which was everything a woman wants to hear. But I've been working since I was 14 and a half. So after 2.5 weeks, I was like, okay, I'm bored. I need to do something. And what came into my life was I wanted to coach because I was living this amazing life because I figured out the formula that our brain is a supercomputer, and the program that it's running are our thoughts and our words that come out of our mouth. And we're never taught this in school. So all of my life, the thoughts and the words that were coming out of my mouth were, there's something inherently wrong with me. I am not good enough. I am unlovable. No one understands me. I don't belong. And so that was the program that was running in my mind. And so these things that I was saying and thinking all the time was creating my reality, which was why I was broke, unemployed, single, living in a small studio apartment. When I changed that program and I started to implement affirmations and mantras and started to do gratitude journal and started to do vision boards and started to speak life into myself versus putting myself down and carrying a lot of shame and guilt and fear and anxiety, my life started to completely change. I manifested and attracted people, different people into my life, which my husband always says, like, I don't know, there was something about you that you were like a glowing light, like a moth to a flame. I had to talk to you. I had to speak to you. I had to ask you out. And my husband and I have, ever since we've been married, I have two multiple million-dollar homes. I've had a Range Rover in my driveway. I now have a Mercedes in my driveway. I've been to places like Bora Bora. I've been to Australia. I've been to Tahiti. I've been to all the places, flown first class, sometimes private. I have had the most incredible life. And I still to this day can't, like, when even now as I'm trying to manifest, because obviously my life isn't over, I do these meditations where it's like, picture the life you've always wanted. I'm like, I am living the life I've always wanted. Like, I'm literally living the life I've always wanted. I have the love of my life. I have two amazing stepsons. Again, I'm doing the work that I've always wanted to do. And so now my biggest thing that I want to teach people is that there's nothing different between me or you. It's just the words that we say and the thoughts that we think. And I always tell people, compare yourself to someone like Kim Kardashian or, Oprah or Steve Harvey, like, or anybody. Like, do you think they're talking about themselves in the negative? Do you think they're saying, I'm such a loser, I'll never get by? Everybody, they're thinking positive thoughts all the time. I mean, probably not as much as we do, and so it's just all a matter of what are you programming your brain to believe. And that's the power of our subconscious mind, is that you could reprogram it. Just like when I think about my life, like the toxic men that I was with, and they were abusive, and they told me all the time, you're ugly, you're fat, I never want to be with you, I'm going to cheat on you. When they programmed that into my brain, I really, really thought low of myself. I went through a really, really dark nights of the soul where I questioned my beauty, my standard, my intelligence, my weight. If they could do that for you in the negative, imagine what you could do for yourself in the positive. So, just like when someone can abuse you and tell you something negative to the point where you really believe it and you make it your reality, why not do it for the opposite? Why not do it opposite and say, let's just change all the negative statements that everyone has ever told you and let's make them a positive statement. Like, let's believe that I am talented, that I am skillful, that I am resourceful, that I am beautiful, that I am intelligent, that I am. If you could think of anything that you want to be and put it on the opposite of I am, which I am is in the Bible as God never said, I am God or I am Lord. He said, I am that I am. And you too can do things bigger and better than I can. But we haven't really tapped into that beautiful statement because there's so much pain, so much sorrow, so much abuse, so much trauma that's been poured onto us. All these limitations from not only our parents, but our ancestors and generations back of things that we have been carrying in our own life, in our own subconscious mind, that's just been passed down and passed down. Like, I'm first generation American. My parents are both from Mexico. Their parents are both from Mexico. Like, they've all lived in poverty. They've all lived like literally hand to mouth. My dad never even got on an airplane before he died. He's never seen anything past Mexico and Southern California. Like, it just wasn't a part of their ideology. It wasn't a part of what I say, their iOS system in their brain. So you have the power to change the iOS system in your brain. You have the power to implement whatever it is that you want to do, be, or have just by switching the program that is running your brain. And I always tell people, If you don't know what program is running you, have a friend or an accountability partner. Just listen to how you talk about money, how you talk about men, how you talk about friends, how you talk about career, how you talk about politics, how you talk about anything. And then have that friend write down all the negative statements you say. Because I think about myself before I met my husband. I used to say, men are cheaters, men are dogs. There's no good men out there. All of the men out there are either gay or they're taken. Those were the words that were coming out of my mouth. And guess what I attracted? Cheaters, men who were unavailable, men who were emotionally inept. And so I couldn't understand why I was continuing to attract these negative scenarios into my life. But it was because of the words that I was saying and the thoughts that I was thinking. They were all negative. It was things that were passed down generation to generation. I remember my brother always telling me, you're Mexican, you're always going to have to work for the white man. You're always going to have to clean houses. You're always going to have to, make less and live paycheck to paycheck. That's just how life isn't like that. And money isn't a finite resource. It's actually an infinite resource. And we come from an infinite creator. That's where I tell my clients too. We pray to God all the time, but yet we take back our problems and say, oh, you can't handle my problem. It's too big for you. It's God. It's the divine. It's the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, the infinite intelligence, the field that created everything and everyone. And you think God can't give you your dreams, your abundance, your wealth, your everything, the love of your life? Like it can. I can't even say he because I feel like God can't be in a box, it can be anything and everything. And so I always tell my clients, like, you have to trust in the unfolding of your life. But you also have to be the co creator of your life. God is only going to give you what you want. But if you're sitting here saying, I want a man, but then the next sentence you say is, every man's a cheater, all men are dogs, there's no one that's available except for a gay or a married man, then that's what your reality is going to be. People want to manifest, people want to dream, but then they say something, oh, I want a new house. And then in the next 15-minute conversation, you're saying, but the interest rates are really bad. And, politics are so bad right now. I just can't buy a house. Oh, it's so hard to buy a house. Well, if you think that way, then that's exactly what your reality is going to be. But if you change the things that you say, just try it. And I tell my people, if you don't want to believe in me, if you think that what I'm saying is woo woo or too spiritual or far left or new age, then I tell people, do what I did because I too was a skeptic. Like I'm telling you, when I first got the book, The Secret, I was like, this shit ain't going to work for me. I'm Mexican. We don't ever win in society. So I tested it. So if you're listening to this, just like he said earlier in the intro, be open minded. If everything in your life right now is not where you want it to be, your career is not where you want it to be, you're not in love with a man that loves you back and you're in a safe and healthy relationship, you're not living in the house of your dreams, you're not driving the car of your dreams, you don't have the money in your bank account, then what do you have to lose? Try this. Put it into play. Get yourself a journal, number one, and start writing 5 to 10 things that you're grateful for every single day. And if you say that you have nothing to be grateful for, if both your hands work, if you have hands, that's one thing that you should be grateful for. If you could see from both eyes, that's one thing that you can be grateful for. If you have food in the refrigerator, gas in your car, if you have a car, if you have electricity, if you have running water, these are all things that you could be grateful for. And just start there. And every single day, you're going to be amazed at the new things you're going to be able to write down. I'm grateful for that I got a free coffee today. I'm grateful for this person who introduced me to someone who's going to get me a job. I'm grateful for the $20 I found on the floor. You're going to see how things are going to start coming into your life. So test that out. And the other thing is really start testing out how you can change the words and the thoughts that you think on a daily basis. And if you can, just write down 3 things that you could say about yourself. So, for example, you could say, I am skilled, I am resourceful, I am gifted, or I am abundant, I am rich, money loves me, whatever it is. Find 3 statements that you want to change in your life. and then just say them every single day for 90 days and see how different your life changes. Seriously, it is the most magical thing that you can do. And when I say magical, it's like people think it's like witchcraft. It's not. It's this powerful gift that God gave us. And he literally said in the Bible, like, your words, guard your heart and guard your mind, because he knew, like, the Bible has all these little sprinkles of like things that we're supposed to do, but we never really do because we're so busy feeling like, the ramifications of what we've grown up with. You know, we're so busy in our trauma, we're so busy in our pain, we're so busy in our emotions, we're so busy blaming people. I blamed my mom for my pain for 20 years. For 20 years, I was like, I could have been a better person if I had a better mom. When in reality, I I'm thankful now for the mom that I had, because her, like, the way that she raised me gave me the power to have this type of life. Like, I would have never asked these questions. I would have never been able to like seek a different way of living if I didn't grow up the way I grew up. And now I have way more compassion and empathy for people who grew up the way that I did with a toxic environment, because I could say, I could get out of that environment and I can change my life. So can you.
Amen, amen, amen. I I love everything you said there. Again, thank you for being open and again being open-minded and vulnerable to share your story, how you overcame. And I love it because it actually goes hand in hand with two topics on my Decree and Declare mini series. It actually releases today
Mm,
at 6, and that is the conviction versus the commit. And I want to speak on that real quick because everything you said throughout your personal testimony is that God gave you a conviction with that dream. He showed you a conviction and you remain committed to the conviction. The daily affirmations, what to say yourself. I always tell people, actually, right now, I want to encourage and challenge everybody listening to this podcast right now. Look in the mirror and close your eyes. I know it sounds weird. Look in the mirror and close your eyes, but look in the mirror, close your eyes. Say those three statements that she mentioned earlier. Say those three statements out loud while you're looking in the mirror with your eyes closed, and then open your eye. And when you open your eyes, you're going to see the only person standing in the way of you reaching those three things.
yeah.
And so you have to remain convicted. And once you get that conviction, you have to be committed to becoming, again, like I said at the beginning of joining the Black Garden inside, to create the dominion of your own mind and become the best version of yourself. The Bible
Yes.
also says we should be lending and not borrowing, and to leave an inheritance for your children's children. And a lot of us leave negativity, bills, and disease for our children's children. And so you have to,
Yeah.
again, like she said, is manifest your life. It's nobody. I want to let everybody know you owe it to yourself. Why not you? Are
Yeah.
those people like she mentioned, like your Oprahs, your Kim Kardashians, your Jay-Z's, Mark Zuckerberg, etc. You have to ask yourself when you look in the mirror and say, are they really better than me? Or do I just think they're better than me? And you have to be able to understand that, and understanding in you live the life that you want to lead and that you want to live. Again, like she said, is you are the co-creator of your own legacy.
Yes. And I always tell my clients too, take the time to really do the research, because that's one of the biggest things about my life, is that I've always been a researcher at heart, and still to this day I'm always honing my craft. I'm always learning from thought leaders. I'm always going to conferences. Like, I've learned from the best of the best. I've gone to see Tony Robbins live, Oprah live, Jack Canfield live, Esther Hicks live, Gabrielle Bernstein live. I learned from the best of the best, and I read a ton of books. I'm constantly reading, books and feeding my brain. And at the time, I was not doing that. When I was broke, I was watching reality TV and listening to music. And now in my car, I rarely have the radio on. I'm always listening to an audible book. Either I'm listening to an audible book or watching a YouTube video. But your brain, again, is the supercomputer. It's the only thing, just think about this. It's the only thing no one can ever read your thoughts. No one. No one has the power to control your thoughts. Absolutely no one. And I always tell myself, I'm either going to create heaven or hell on earth. So, and how do you create heaven or hell on earth? By the thoughts that you think. So if you're thinking negative thoughts, and I know because I've done this to myself multiple times, where you could think the worst of the worst thoughts, where, oh my gosh, I'm in this dark alley, someone's going to attack me and I'm going to get murdered. Or you could think the best thoughts. I'm going to meet the most amazing, incredible people, and they're going to connect me to this person. My life is going to change, and either, my career is going to soar. You can think both thoughts. And so what are you creating every single day? This is why God said, I'm giving you the choice, the freedom of choice. And you could either choose heaven or hell. And our job here as humans is to create heaven on earth. And how do you do that? By changing the way we think, by changing the way we speak, and by seeing the world as a place of infinite possibilities versus a limited prison. And so I always tell my clients too, like, I think about this is one of my favorite books to read, The Untethered Soul. And in the back of the book, towards the end of the book, he says, just imagine that God came down and asked you, oh my God, how do you love it here? What do you love about this place that I created for you, this beautiful earth? And you said, I hate it here. It's too dang hot. I'm always sweating. I hate it here. The bees are always in my face, and I'm just tired of all the clouds. And all you did was complain. Do you think that God is going to be like, I'm going to give this person more? No, because again, God doesn't give you more than you can handle, and you're barely handling what you have. But now let's say God comes down to you, and even though you're in the shittiest part of your life, which I was broke, I was unemployed, I was living in a studio apartment, and God came down and I said, you know what? I love life. I'm thankful that I can see. I'm thankful that I can walk. Thankful for this roof over my head. I'm thankful for the bed that I sleep in. Then God's going to be like, wow, she's so grateful for the little things that I've already given her. I'm going to give her more. So that's the reason why I think gratitude is the law of increase. God is only going to give you more than you can handle. And if you're the things that you have now that you currently are handling, and all you're doing is complaining and seeing the negative in it, then you're not going to get more. But if you start to be grateful for the things that you have, even though they're a little bit, they will start to increase. You will start to see more blessings in your life. You will start to see more light in your life. And so that's what I tell people. Think about what you're thinking about every single day. So when you are unaware of your thoughts and you're letting your thoughts take control and just running the program, and then also think, where did I come up with this idea? Was it my own idea? Or did my mom teach me that? Or did I hear my grandma say it? Or did my father say this to me? Who gave me this negative idea, this negative ideology that I was not good enough or that I was not smart enough? Was it a teacher that told me I'll always be bad at math? And then remove that thought from your head. When he said earlier to think of the three statements that you're going to say in front of the mirror, first, before you think of the three statements, have your friend monitor the words that come out of your mouth. And then talk about money, talk about relationships, talk about career, and talk about whatever it is. And then ask her, what are the top three things that I say that were really negative around each topic? So your career, your love life, your business, yourself. Because we talk about ourselves in the negative all the time. I'm too fat, I'm too ugly, I need to lose weight, or I don't like my hair, or I hate my teeth. We're always negatively talking about ourselves, which again, God gave us one thing: love yourself, love your neighbor, and love your enemy. The biggest problem we have is loving ourselves, right? You think, no, I can't love my enemy. No, the biggest problem we have is loving ourselves. It is so hard for us to speak good about ourselves. So if you can actually spend the time falling in love with this beautiful body that carries your soul and has been protecting you and keeping you alive and nourishing your brain and all of the things, if you can love your body and love yourself, again, exponentially, your life is going to change. And then figure out what those three statements are that are negative that you keep repeating over and over, and then do the opposite of them and say those every single day in front of the mirror and see how your life will change.
Awesome, awesome. I love that you said that because you remind me of one of my favorite books, Simon Sinek, The Infinite Game.
Oh, yes, I love Simon Sinek.
Yes, and he always talks about how we're obviously we all pass on eventually, so we're finite players, but the game of life is infinite,
Hmm.
and you get to choose. And so, with that being said, again, it's been a wonderful, deep, dark, and light time inside Black Garden. And so, again, Paola, you are the empowerer of woman. And so, I know there's somebody listening. I know there's a woman on here like, wow, I went through the same thing, or maybe I'm going through that same darkness and dark season of, I don't feel like I'm enough. Maybe I want to unlife myself. Maybe I just, maybe you just went through a divorce. Maybe you just went through a bad breakup. Maybe you just had a close family member or someone near and dear to you that has passed on. And so, what is some motivation that you could help to empower those women and then also tell the audience where they can find you?
Well, you can find me on fearlessfemale.com. I also have a YouTube channel at Fearless Female. I have a podcast called Journey of a Fearless Female. And when you go to my website, I do have a monthly subscription. It's $99 a month for coaching. And it's just an incredible subscription group where you really just get all the amazing tools and tricks and tips with me. And we get a monthly call. And so I love that because it's a small, minimal amount that people can afford. It's not some crazy amount that's like too much for people to handle, but it's just for you to get your feet wet into the self help world so that you can actually help yourself really change your life. And so for me, my nugget of wisdom that I love to tell people is that you are powerful beyond measure. And God gave all of us the same power to choose heaven or hell on earth. And if you are not living in the heaven that you want to live in, then you really need to think about what program is running your brain. Is the program negative? Is it telling you that you're not good enough, that you're not worthy, that you don't deserve a better life? And if so, you have the power to change that program. You have the power to change your thoughts and your words, and you can do it on a daily basis. Just try it for 30 to 60, 90 days would be best. And then just watch your life transform.
Awesome, awesome. And so, again, Um, as we close out here and come outside of the Black Garden, again, I hope those thorns didn't, cut you too much or tie you up too much inside the garden. Hope you didn't start sneezing and get allergic to any other flowers here. And so, again, this has been episode 16 with Dark Law and Paola. I encourage everyone, as you're listening, again, what is your why? Are you focused on your assignment? I do believe everybody has an assignment within life, and everybody has the power within you to become the best version of yourself. You are greatness, you are power, you are life. And so I speak life and encouragement to everyone listening and viewing this episode. And I also encourage you to, check Paola out. Again, she's in the West Coast area. Check out our website, check out our podcast, The Fearless Woman. Again, I just want to speak to the woman real quick. You are powerful, you are loved. Um, as the premise of the Creative Dominion on domestic violence survivors. You're not just a survivor, you're a warrior, and you're not a victim. And I declare that you take hold inside the Black Garden. You will find the husband, the man of your dreams, or the partner of your dreams. You will become the best version of yourself, and you will continue to strive and become a woman of power, love, and a sound mind. Again, the book of Mark, power, love, and a sound mind. No spirit of fear shall trespass against you. And I encourage everyone, again, to check out The Black Garden, releasing September 2024. Again, this is episode 16. It's been fun inside the Black Garden. Again, become the best version of yourself, to create a dominion of your own mind, and let's all win together. And so this has been Dark Low and Paola. Until next time on Black Garden, thank you for coming.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Career Dominion podcast with your host, Darklaw. Be sure to follow and like on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon, and go ahead and follow our Facebook and Instagram pages as well. We hope that you took something and resonated with it, that you can apply it to your daily life to become the best version of yourself and decree the dominion of your mind. Remember, decree and declare and take back your rightful throne and your rightful place into the best version of yourself. Thank you.